Hello subscribers and viewers of my channel. Today's video will be dedicated to giants. There are already many videos on my channel on this topic, but the information about giants keeps coming and I never cease to be amazed. Giants, humanoid creatures of enormous size from fairy tales such as Jack and the Beanstalk, have shaped the perception of giants as stupid and violent creatures. Some sources even describe them as cannibals. Giants are also found in many ancient texts, including the Bible in the book of Genesis, where giants are called Nephilim and are said to be the offspring of fallen angels and human women. Genesis 6 says that the Nephilim were on earth in the days when the sons of God went to the daughters of man and had children by them. These were powerful individuals known in ancient times. Scientific American magazine published articles about the discovery of giant human remains. The skeletal remains, ranging in size from 4 to 98 feet, were sent to the Smithsonian Institution for further study. But the fact that these studies were never looked at or mentioned again makes one wonder if the Smithsonian Institution destroyed the giant skeletons or is hiding them to cover up an inconvenient anomaly in the archaeological narrative we have. Now I am going to share with you some interesting material that I found. After reading it, we will draw some conclusions. Well, let's not delay any longer and let's begin. In the now deleted video, originally published on August 16, 2016, Lamarzuli interviewed a man claiming to be a soldier who said he witnessed the Kandahar giant. He refused to reveal his identity for his own safety, so he remained incognito throughout the interview. The man claims he saw a giant with a spear in his hands about 30 feet tall, that is, about 9 meters tall, kill an American soldier named Dan before he and other soldiers massacred the giant. He said the giant's killing took place during Operation Enduring Freedom in 2002, when the military was engaged in fierce battles with the Taliban. It all began when in 2002, a group of soldiers went missing during a patrol in a remote area of Kandahar in southern Afghanistan. When they couldn't establish contact for some time, the army sent in special operations units. During the search for the missing unit high in the mountains, soldiers stumbled upon a cave with scattered military gear, but there were no signs of the missing soldiers. It was then that they accidentally encountered the Kandahar giant. He described the red-haired giant standing as tall as a 3-story building, with 6 fingers and emanating a corpse-like odor, suddenly emerging from the cave and attacking the soldiers by impaling one of them with a spear. The soldiers opened fire on the giant. The unit was armed with M4 carbines and 249 and M107 machine guns and an M200 sniper rifle. They fired at the target for about a minute until he finally collapsed after being critically hit in the temple by a sniper shot. They then called in a Chinook helicopter for the evacuation of the giant. Initially, they attempted to lift him manually using all their strength, but to no avail. Even with the maximum effort of the soldier group, the giant remained immovable. His weight turned out to be immensely heavy, and it seemed as though he was anchored to the ground. The military reluctantly admitted that they needed machinery to lift him. They called for reinforcements, and special engineering squads arrived with cranes and other heavy equipment. Using cranes and winches, the soldiers began to lift the giant from the ground. Even with the help of machinery, it was a difficult task that required caution and coordination. Each step was accompanied by tense silence and attention to actions to avoid injury to both the soldiers and the giant. Finally, after numerous efforts and many hours of work, the giant was successfully lifted and loaded onto the Chinook helicopter, and no one ever saw him again. The soldiers who were there had to sign the government version of the SF-312 non-disclosure agreement. When I returned home after my service in Afghanistan in 2003, I was filled with indescribable emotions. But among those feelings was something much darker and heavier, the secret that I couldn't share with anyone. That night, when I first saw him, the Kandahar giant, I couldn't have imagined it would become part of my life for many years to come. The soldiers present at the event were ordered to remain silent. We were forced to sign agreements not to disclose state secrets, but the secret weighed heavily on my shoulders. At first, I tried to forget, pretend that nothing had happened. But as time passed, I realized more and more that this was something that needed to be revealed. I decided to tell the truth to my wife. She, in turn, supported me, but it was clear she either couldn't or didn't want to believe it. When I tried to tell my friends about it, they raised their eyebrows in disbelief and thought I was making up a story. However, in 2009, 6 years later, I stumbled upon a post on Facebook. It was written by a person who, as it turned out, had researched the same giant at a scientific secret base in 2004. He shared his impressions and facts that clearly indicated that the giant's story was much more complex than initially thought. This person described the giant as a representative of a completely different race, outwardly resembling a human but much larger, yet internally a completely different being. These beings have everything changed down to their DNA, blood structure, vessels, and organs. A regular human with such height couldn't exist in our world for even a day. The bones of these beings are 7 times stronger than elephant ivory, and the bone structure is completely different. In other words, it can no longer be called bone. It's a different material. We couldn't even understand how it could grow. Studies led to the conclusion that this giant was never small. He didn't grow. He was born or appeared in the world as they killed him. His skin also had an unknown structure, much stronger. How strong? For example, small caliber SMG weapons couldn't even scratch it. A powerful rifle was needed to penetrate it. We examined his organs, which seemed similar to those of a regular human, except for one exception. The functionality of his organs far exceeded ours. This giant was around 1200 years old. His eyes and ears could hear and see 5 to 6 times better than those of an ordinary human. When I looked at the comments under that post, all that awaited this person was a stream of insults. No one even tried to take a drop of truth from what he said. At that moment, I realized that there was no point in convincing anyone of what had happened. Let people believe what is convenient for them. We could even have not signed non-disclosure documents. After all, why bother? No one would believe it anyway. It's better to just keep quiet and not attract attention to ourselves. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it myself. But the fact remains a fact. It happened, and now it's a part of me. I'm not demanding that you believe me. I have no evidence, and there never will be. I only have my story. So it's up to you whether to believe me or not. But I felt I had to tell it, and that's where the article ends. Write in the comments what you think about this matter. And my name is Professor Aristotle. See you on the channel.